Aw, man, guys. If that is no indication that the season finale of The Walking Dead is going to be fucking amazing, I don't know what will, but holy shit, things are getting awesome. Hey guys, it's Kevin again, and this is going to be my review for The Walking Dead Season 5, Episode 15, Try, and this was by far the best episode of the season. I mean, seriously, so many things happened in this episode. I think this was the first episode where we really saw that the Alexandria safe zone might not be as safe as we really think it is, and I think this episode really showed that very, very well, and I can't wait for next week's finale, and unfortunately I can't see it when it first comes on because I'll be in Florida, because I'm leaving for Florida on Wednesday, so all my reviews won't be up till, like, Tuesday of next week, so let's just get into this episode because it was amazing. So much shit happened in this episode, and I can't wait to get into it. So we start off weird tonight, and a walker stepping out of the woods, and inside, Deanna's looking at a CD with the title Run Mix written on it, and alongside Reg and Spencer, she plays it, and the room reminisces, and you can see the look on her face. She's kind of thinking about what Gabriel said. It doesn't really come up, but it definitely is in the back of her mind the whole episode. And Carol's preparing dinner at her house as the song plays, and she watches Judith on a monitor, and Sam looks at her through the window. Sasha looks out from the bell tower. The walkers continue out of the woods towards the gates, and inside, Reg tears up and has Spencer turn the music off. There's a knock at the door, and Deanna answers, but no one's there. Only a letter from Carol reading, "We're sorry for the loss," on top of a dinner plate, which Deanna leaves on her porch. Of course, Aiden died, and so did Noah. They died, so Deanna goes inside, ignites the note on a candle. The walker presses against the wall. Sasha guns it down. Further out, another walker is killed by Aaron, who's with Daryl, and they see a light. And Nicholas is then on camera describing what, and I thought that was a great way to start the episode, so Nicholas is then on camera. He's describing what happened, blaming Glen for what happened, and he says Glen distracted Aiden and wanted to run, but Nicholas wasn't going to leave him, and I mean, I can understand Nicholas's point, but here's the thing: Aiden was being an idiot. He really was. Aiden got himself killed. That's who got him killed. That's who got him killed, was himself. He was being an idiot. He wasn't listening to Glen. He wasn't doing anything that Glen was telling him to do, so that's why he was killed. So it's not Glen's fault. It's his own fault. That's really whose fault it is. It's Aiden's fault, and Nicholas needs to understand that. So Glen tells the truth of what happened, recounting how it was Nicholas's fault Noah died, which is true, and Rick listens to Glen's account. Nicholas blames them, and Deanna asks why they came back together, and she rules that neither Nicholas nor Glen can have guns or go outside the wall, and Nicholas insists that Rick and the group don't fit in, have to leave, and I can kind of understand his point, but at the same time, Aiden was being an idiot, and we're starting to realize that everyone in this group are idiots, except for a few people, so we're definitely starting to notice that, and the other thing that I like this episode showed is just how unsafe really everyone is. I mean, Deanna's rewatching the video on her computer, and Rick and Glenn are discussing the incompetence of the Alexandrians, and they agree that they have to stay in the community, but Rick doesn't want to listen to their rules. He doesn't want to go for the rules anymore because he doesn't think they're the best rules, which I kind of can understand why he thinks they're not the best rules, because in some ways, you know what? They're not the best rules. They have very safe rules, but the rules are just too safe. There does come a point where they're just too safe. I mean, they can't kill anyone. The rules are just weird, and especially because of what they want to do with Pete, they really don't know what they want to do here. So basically, Glenn says that Noah believes in the community, and they have to make it work with the residents, and Rick sees a little boat in the pond with a red balloon tied to it, and Carol watches Sam, Jessie, and Pete from her porch. Rick walks behind her and joins. Carol asks if Rick has thought about what he said and tells Rick that Sam told her Jessie tells him to lock himself in the closet when he hears his parents fighting. And one time he found Jessie unconscious, bleeding, and when he hears, basically, while Pete just sat on the front porch, which that really just shows how maniacal and evil Pete really is. Pete is this maniacal monster. I'm saying it right now. Pete is a monster, and just like, wow, Pete is brutal. I did not think Pete was as brutal as that, but holy shit is he brutal. I mean, Pete is a monster. He really is. And Rick asks why Carol cares about Jessie, and she because I mean Carol and Jessie have had no interaction, so I kind of understand what Rick is saying. Even though Rick deeply cares for Jessie, and definitely I could see him being in a relation with her, and really he's doing all this for her safety. I can understand why he asked Carol that question. I mean they've had no interaction. Carol's been in a completely different place than Jessie has, so why she cares so much about Jessie, it's probably because of Sam, and she implies because of what used to happen to her. And that's what happened to Carol. Carol was, didn't have a very good life. She was abused. She was a housewife, and that's really why she cares. And it really makes us remember, you know what, this is who Carol used to be. Carol, while she is a badass now, she used to just be a housewife who was beaten a lot, who cried a lot, who things like a lot of shit happened to her, and you really do feel bad for Carol. I definitely really like that Carol talked about that because it's true. That is what happened to Carol, and she tells Rick she knows that he does because of the way he talks to her, includes with, if Walkers hadn't gone Ed, I wouldn't be standing here right now. Which is true. He probably would have killed her. If the Walkers hadn't gotten her husband, he probably would have died. That's why Carol is such a badass now, because she's without him. And I heard the first few seasons, she was this really whiny person. Like, she cried a lot, and she was very weak, but now she's so much stronger, and I like that she said that, because it's true. Without her husband, she probably, if her husband's still been there, she probably would have died by now. So, basically, then we see that Rick approaches the palm with his gun drawn but hidden, and Pete calls out for him, and Rick ignores the first time, then turns around. Pete asks if he's okay, and again, Pete is being overly friendly and dominant, and he's just being very creepy. And Rick is just staring him down, telling him to keep walking, hiding his gun the whole time, and just, oh my god, Pete, stop being so creepy, seriously, it's so creepy here. It's daytime. Michonne wakes up and looks at her laundry basket. She looks at her clothes, lays them on her bed. Rosita comes in and tells Michonne Tara's doing okay, but she thinks Sasha spent the night in the tower. I like that they are mentioning Tara, because of course we want to know what happened to Tara. Tara, all we know is that she's getting treated, and something bad happened to her, but she's getting treated. No one's seen her, though, so we don't know where she is, but they keep saying that, oh, she's getting treated, she's fine. And Michonne and Rosita go through the woods. When they hear something, they raise their guard before continuing. The two discuss how different it feels to be outside, and that it may not be a good thing for it to feel different, because, I mean, they're so used to being outside, but they've been inside so much now that now going outside in the woods feels weird, and you have to understand that. I mean, really, all these people must feel that way, going outside and it's not their job. Yeah, totally, it feels weird. So Rosita tries to look at the bright side, but Michonne reflects on Noah dying, and Rosita points out that Michonne didn't bring her sword as a testament to Michonne's adjustment to a comfortable, safe life, and I thought that was a really good scene overall. Because, I mean, Michonne does need her sword, but she didn't bring it, and again, it's just showing how much Michonne is changing in this Alexandria safe zone, especially the end of the episode. Definitely shows how much Michonne is changing. I mean, there are people that are definitely changing because of how safe this Alexandria safe zone is and how much it has just changed them. So, this next scene, I love this next scene. I thought this was a great scene, and just, it really shows, I mean, Deanna we've seen is a pretty good leader. I think this was the first time we saw Deanna's not the best leader, and it's understandable why. Rick and Deanna speak over Aiden's grave, and Rick tells Deanna that there's a problem with Pete, and Deanna acknowledges that she knew and hoped it would get better, but Pete's a surgeon, and he saves lives. You can see this whole time, she's just so passive-aggressive with Rick, and it's probably because of what Gabriel said to her. You know, Gabriel said that they're all monsters and that they shouldn't trust them. That's why she's being so passive-aggressive. That's why she doesn't want to listen to any of them, because she thinks that they are these monsters. And really, they're not. They're really, I mean, Pete's the monster here. Pete's a monster, and she needs to understand that. And Rick suggested they separate Pete and Jessie to protect, and I think this was good what he said, you know, basically they separate Pete and Jessie to protect her, which is probably the best thing to do. I mean, but put Pete in a separate place and put Jessie in another, I can understand that. But Deanna asks what happens if Pete doesn't listen, and Rick says that if he doesn't listen, then he'll kill him. It's that simple. But Deanna says that they don't kill people. They kill walkers, but they don't kill people. But here's the thing with that. Even though you kill walkers and not people, there comes a point where you just have to kill certain people. We've seen this. We've seen this with when Carol killed Lizzie, because you can't deal with someone like that. There have been many times where they have killed people, and Deanna, they just are not that kind of group that does that. And while I can understand what she's saying, I totally understand that she doesn't want to kill people because she just doesn't think it's right. This is a world where there is no right or wrong. You have to kill people no matter what, and Deanna needs to understand that. So she says all they're going to do is they're going to exile him, but here's the thing. Think of how many people were exiled. The governor, I believe, was exiled, and he came back, and Rick doesn't want to, basically, he doesn't want to make the community vulnerable, but Deanna says that he's not executing anyone, not to ask again, and Rick says there's a decision to be made, and Deanna says the decisions have already been made. She wouldn't kill Rick, and she says if something bad would happen, she would not kill Rick, she'd send him away. So I thought that was a very interesting scene. It definitely really showed how different these two really are. So Michonne and Rosita find dead walkers, assuming Sasha hunted them, and Carl then walks around the woods, and we see Enid again, and we really see a lot more of Enid's character here, which I definitely like seeing because I wanted to find out more about Enid, and we see a lot more with her in this episode. She knows he's following her, and Carl tells her she shouldn't sneak out by herself because it's dangerous. She reveals herself and says people always die, and that's really interesting because Deanna's saying that nobody dies, yet people are dying, and to me, it just seems like Deanna's very naive of the community, even though she's the leader, she's very naive, and Carl asks what she's doing, and she says, same thing as you. She runs off as Carl chases her. They come across this walker stumbling through the woods, and Enid throws a timer that sets off, distracts him before the two scamper off, and back inside the walls, Glen approaches Nicholas and blames Nicholas for the 4 people lost, and he tells Nicholas he has to carry 5 lives and deserves to be dead, which I have to agree with Glen when he says that, going on that if the walls weren't up, he would be dead, which is true. I mean, that's what happened to Aiden, so he doesn't want the same thing happen to Nicholas, and Nicholas tries to defend himself, but Glen tells him he knows what kind of person he is and not to go outside the walls again, and I have to agree with Glen when he says that. I mean, the best thing is to just not go outside the walls. Listen to Glen, and you'll be fine. That's what they have to do. No one listens to Glen. If you listen to Glen, you'll be fine. It really is that simple. So Carl and Enid are still in the woods, and they're sitting down against a log, and Enid says that they're supposed to out here, and running makes her feel better. Carl says he dreams about being in the forest with them, and Enid does too. Basically, Carl asks if Ron knows Enid comes outside, and she says he doesn't, and Carl asks why he scares Enid, and she doesn't know. And she pulls out a knife that he belonged to her mom and starts carving another log. Carl says that, she has a nice knife and everything, and he asks what happened before she got there. And we find a little bit more about Enid in this episode, which I definitely really like. She says, while Enid does that it doesn't matter, Carl argues that it does, and they hear walkers approaching, go hide inside of a tree, face to face, and Enid whispers that, and I like what she says here, it's their world, we're just living in it. And it's kind of true what she says. I mean, think about the difference between walkers and humans. There are definitely a lot more walkers than there are humans. There aren't many humans left, and they're really just living in the world at this point. It's their world. This is the apocalypse. They have taken over, and the humans are now secondary. So I really like what Enid says there, because it really does sum up how the humans are at this point. I think that was a really good line. Probably one of my favorite lines of the episode, definitely. Not my favorite line, but we'll get to that. Carl thinks about taking Enid's hand, but he's nervous, and Enid tells Carl, you're afraid of me too. I thought they were gonna, kiss or something in the scene. I thought they were trying to start a relationship here, but that's not what ended up happening. But I definitely feel like we're gonna see a relationship between these two. Definitely, we're gonna see something brew between these two. I think these two are gonna start a relationship, and I definitely could see Enid sticking around with the group after Alexandria Safe Zone, because we know for a fact next week they're out of the Alexandria Safe Zone. I mean, they've teased it. They said we're gonna get a new beginning again, and next week, they're not going to be there. So, walkers stumble by. One comes on to focus with a W on his forehead. And, of course, the W means wild walkers, so that's not good. And Nicholas unburies a gun in the woods and has the J marking on it, indicating that it to be the gun that Rick left in the blender. So, that's not good. So Sasha then guns down a herd of walkers from behind. Michonne and Rosita catch up to her, but Sasha warns them to go back, and she wants to take out all the walkers. A massive horde, and you can see that Sasha just wants to do things by herself. She really wants to do all these things by herself, and she's definitely grieving over Noah and Tyrese and things like that, and Sasha can't catch a break this season, really. Everyone that she is close to dies. She was close to Bob, he died. Tyrese's brother, he died, and then she was close to Noah, and he died. So who's not going to die this close to Sasha? Seriously, everyone's close to Sasha, and they're dying. The only person I could see that's not close to Sasha that hasn't died is Maggie. Maggie and Sasha had that great talk. They're really good friends now, and she hasn't died yet. So let's hope that doesn't happen. So massive horror approaches, and basically Michonne imagines herself slicing them up with her sword, raises her gun to help, and takes them out. Because now she doesn't have her sword. She has her gun, and you can see that she still remembers her sword, but she's thinking of her gun as her sword, which I really do like. Rosita contributes too with a knife, and Sasha runs out of ammo, resorts to a knife. She's tackled from behind, but Michonne saves her. Sasha's opposite of grateful and refuses Michonne's offer to help to her feet, and seriously, Sasha, just try to get some help. Like, I understand you want to do things by yourself, but you can have some people help you. Even though you want to do things by yourself, there are people out there who can help you. And Sasha says that no one can help her. She thinks about Noah and becomes emotional because she told him he wouldn't make it, and she did. She told him point blank that you're not going to make it in this situation, and now she feels terrible about it. So I kind of feel like Sasha's just punishing herself, and she doesn't want people to help her because she doesn't feel she deserves the help because she caused his death, which is really fucked up, but it goes with her character, and I definitely really do feel bad for Sasha. Sasha is probably one of the most vulnerable characters on the show right now, and I love that, especially because last year, Sasha had, like, nothing to do, and just the development she's gotten this season has been incredible. So Daryl and Aaron walk through the woods and find walker limbs with no torsos, and again, I just see Daryl going through this really dark path, and I heard next week's finale, it's not going to be good for him, it's going to end badly, but I don't think he's going to be the one that dies. Who I think it's going to be the one that dies is going to shock you all. I'm going to tell you who I think is going to die. You guys are going to be like, what? But I'm going to tell you, and you guys are going to be very shocked at who I think is going to die. And you guys are going to be like, what the hell are you talking about? But just, if you think about it, it actually does make sense. So they continue on with their guard up. They find this female walker tied to a tree, naked and gutted, with feeding walkers, and Daryl raises his head and again finds a W carved into it before he puts it down with a knife. And what do I think all these W's mean? These wild walkers, they're gonna form a group and they're gonna go against all these people, and it's gonna go airborne. It really is. It's gonna I'm calling it now. Every single walker is gonna need these W's carved into their head. That's what's gonna happen. Every single walker, they're gonna be turned into wild walkers, and it's not gonna end well for anyone. So Jessie smokes a cigarette by her busted sculpture. Rick comes in and Jessie tells him she doesn't want anyone to know she's smoking. She apologizes for Noah's loss and says that Tara's in good hands with Pete. And Rick says that Pete is hitting her and it has to stop. And I like that Rick really shows her that he wants to do something here. And Jessie is trying to make all these excuses, and I can totally understand why she's making excuses, but she's just not the strongest woman right now. And I think that Rick really can make her stronger, but at this point she's not strong. And it's because of where they're living. And Rick straight up says, I don't care. You know, he doesn't care about her excuse. And I like that he tells her, I don't care the excuse you're making. You are in terrible condition and I need to help you. And he tells her she can't fix it, but he can. And it's true. She can't do anything about it. She can do whatever she wants. She can't do anything about it. He can help her because Pete is so powerful, but he's more powerful. Here's the thing. Rick would kill Pete, seriously. Jessie says Rick will only make matters worse, but Rick says worse means Pete has killed her, which is true. That really is the worst it can get, is that Pete's gonna kill her. And Jessie asks why he cares, and he struggles to answer and tells her he's trying to help. And I think he cares so much because, one, he really has a lot of feelings for her. Two, he doesn't want what happened. He wants someone to replace Lori, obviously, because he still thinks about Lori, and you know, I understand, and plus she was so kind to him and everything. I think it's just because she really is the only one that he really truly cares about in this community, and she tells him how she's married and can take care of herself, and she walks away and shuts the garage door on Rick, and Rick is walking down the street, notices the residents doing things from the world, and I understand that Jessie doesn't want him to help her, but it's really just because of how, you know, what she's going through and how much she's hurting. That definitely is why this is happening. So he goes back to Jessie's house, walks in the front door. I knew he was not going to let that happen. He's like, I'm not letting this happen. Tells Jessie that Sam asked for a gun to protect her. He tells her that if you don't fight, you die. And he doesn't want Jessie to die. He can help her and keep her kids safe. All she has to do is say yes. And Jessie asks if he would do this for someone else. Rick says no. Jessie says yes. Pete walks in from the kitchen smugly, and when he walked in, I'm like, oh shit, this is not going to end well. Now, one of the things I was most looking forward to, I'm going to tell you guys right now, is the Pete and Rick showdown. I was totally looking forward to a fight from them because, I mean, just Pete is this violent monster, and Rick, when he's violent, he is fucking violent. So I was looking forward to seeing these two, like, tear each other apart, and basically That's what we get in this episode. And basically, Pete approaches Jessie, who tells him he has to leave. Pete raises his voice. Rick says the two of them will leave. Pete questions Rick's authority, swings at Rick, and I like that Rick's like, you don't want to do that, you don't want to do that, and he keeps punching Rick, and Rick is trying to tell him not to do that, but then Rick just goes, and he eventually gets thrown out the window, and I just thought he was going to kill Pete right then and there. And Sasha hears the glass shower from the bell tower. She sees everyone running into the fight between Rick and Pete. Both are bloody. Jessie's crying, and Jessie has no idea what to do here. Like, she, at first, is telling Pete to stop it, then she's yelling at Rick. I mean, she's so overwhelmed. There's never this kind of violence in the Alexandria safe zone, and just the fact that it's happening, she's freaking out about. And the two are choking each other as everyone looks on. Jessie tries to stop Pete, but he hits her anyway, just as Rick pushes Carl away a moment later. And, Carl's trying to stop it. Deanna orders Rick to stop, and he finally stops, and as they approach, he draws his gun, and walkers roam just outside the wall. They have no idea this is happening, and I love what he says to them. This last speech I thought was amazing. Rick says that the others don't get it. His group, and he has this fantastic monologue. And one of the things I love about Rick is he always has these fantastic monologues. This was one of them. His group lives because they can handle themselves. And Nicholas hears Sasha gunning down walkers one by one. Rick tells Deanna that her way of doing things is done. It's not working. And it really is not. I mean, her way of doing things is just exiling someone. When you have someone like Pete, no, you have to kill them. And if she would have stopped it, he would have killed him. There's no questioning there. If she would not have stopped him, Pete would be dead right now, and they would be safe overall. And that's what Deanna doesn't understand. I don't think Deanna's an idiot. I really don't. She's just naive of what's really going on. She's so used to this system that she doesn't want to change it. And I think Deanna's just afraid of change. And Rick tells Deanna that if people don't fight, they die. And there's this whole point where he's like, what are you going to do? You're going to kill me? And he points his gun at her, and basically, Michonne then hits him over the head, knocks him unconscious, and that's how the episode ends. So, Michonne hitting him over the head, I kind of feel like Rick's going to die now. I'm going to be honest, guys. I think Rick's going to die. I really do. They said that we're in for a very shocking 90-minute finale. It's going to scare, everyone's going to be freaked out by it. Everyone's going to be, completely shocked. And I think if the only way to do that is kill off Rick. I know Rick's our main character, but seriously, I could see that happening. I really could see Rick dying at this point. I mean, Michonne hitting him over the head, I feel like Michonne's going to turn against Rick, and it seems like Rick's going to try to tell them what to do, but here's the thing. Can Rick actually change things? I really don't know. It seems like this is a group where change is not welcome. They don't want change because they think their system is just the best. They think they're so used to how good their system is that they're not willing to change anything, and they don't want to change anything. I can understand that they don't want to change anything, but they should at least try to listen to reason, though. I mean, Rick does have some very valid points. He's not just saying random bullshit here. He has some very good points about what he's saying. They should listen to him. He's good at speaking. He's actually a very good leader, and he has very good leadership skills. And he's probably the smartest out of all of them, so they really should listen to him. They just don't want to because I think Deanna's just afraid of change. That's really what this is all about. Jessie, I really want Jessie to live. I really do. Pete needs to die next week. I need to see Pete die. And I want to see Pete die in a very brutal way. All those walkers, I want to see them, mangle Pete. Just what happened to Noah last week, do that to Pete. I will be so happy if that happens. Pete, seriously, he needs to go. He needs to go. I will say this, the actor who plays Pete is awesome. He's a badass character, but seriously, he needs to go. And just, he's not even a badass. He's abusing his wife, and there's nothing cool with that. There's nothing cool about abusing your wife, and you can't do that. And Jessie's such a great character that I really think that if she allies with Rick and all of them, she's going to become stronger. He can make her stronger. We'll see how that works overall. Deanna, I don't know if she's going to live now, but I think Deanna is probably going to live. I think Deanna's just that powerful. Gabriel, I think Gabriel looks like he's going to come back next week, and she's going to let Rick know what's going on, which is going to be really interesting to see what happens there. Let's talk about Sasha. Sasha, for a second. Sasha, she needs to understand that even though that she saw all these people die, and even though she told Noah that he was going to die, it's not her fault that he died. And I understand, I think she's trying to punish herself for what he did, and for for his death, and it's not her fault at all, and she needs to understand that she can have people help her. She doesn't want anyone to help her, but she can have people help her, and she should let people help her, because she didn't cause his death, and it's not necessarily her fault that he died, and she needs to understand that. Carl and Enid, I love these two together. I really do. I don't know about you guys, but I really want these two to get together. I mean, I understand that, like, it's probably not going to happen, but I really do want Carl and Enid to get together. I think Enid is a character that could stay on with Carl, and some people have said this, that they feel that Carl is going to be the main focus of next season. I kind of can understand that. If Rick dies, then it's basically the Carl show. It really is, and how would I feel about that? I'd be fine with that. I mean, Carl used to be this really annoying character, but now he's a great character. They're developing him really well. He's becoming as strong as Rick. I think he has the potential to be as good as a character as Rick, and I'm really interested in seeing what's going to happen there. Glen and Nicholas. Nicholas needs to listen to Glen. Nicholas needs to realize that this is not Glen's fault. Glen is a good leader, and he needs to listen to him. I know that he doesn't want to listen to him, but he needs to, because he knows what he's talking about. He's not an idiot, and I think that Nicholas doesn't realize that Glen is very experienced with this stuff. He knows what he's doing, and he needs to understand that. Really, he does. And I understand that he doesn't want to, but you have to. Daryl and Aaron, I still feel like Daryl's going down this really dark path. I don't know how he's going to go down that dark path, but I don't think he's going to die. I don't think so. A lot of people are thinking he's going to die, and when that happens, you can never really... Here's what I'm going to say. You can never predict who's going to die on The Walking Dead. Yes, Beth's death was very predictable. That's very rare that ever happens. Like, whoever predicted that Herschel was going to die? Whoever predicted that Lori was going to die? Whoever predicted that Andrea was going to die? Whoever predicted that those people were going to die? Seriously, who predicted they were going to die? I wouldn't have. And those people that died, who predicted when they were going to die? You can't predict death on The Walking Dead. And I definitely feel like Daryl is not going to be the person that gets it. He is not in a place where I feel he's going to get killed. And the person I think is going to get killed, honestly, is probably Rick. I think Rick's going to die next week. I'm going to be honest, guys. I think Rick is going to die. I know you think I'm crazy, but they could do it. They could totally kill Rick and do a complete 180. It's a 90-minute finale. They're not playing around. So... it's not going to be a small death. I understand Daryl's not a small character by any means, but just because of the things that they're doing with him, I don't think Daryl's going to die. I really don't think that he's in this position where he's going to die. We'll see what happens, but I just personally don't think he's going to die. But let me know what you guys saw this episode. Who do you think is going to die next week? I think it's going to be Rick. I really do. And I'll see you guys in my next video, which is not going to be for Shameless. As you guys know, Shameless is like the most frustrating show I'm watching. So my next video is going to be for the season of Girls, because the Girls season finale was tonight. I'm going to watch it after this video, and then I will review the season to you guys and let you know what I thought of it, and I'll see you guys for that. Okay, bye.